Okay, so here we are again, and we are going to discuss what do narcissistic abuse, childhood trauma, and an addict in recovery all have in common. Well, I have all three. I've experienced all three. Thankfully, not at the same time. They were all spread out on my timeline, which is good. Let's start with the easy and obvious ones. They all cause trauma to your personhood. That's pretty straightforward. They all cause low self-esteem, which I'm battling right now to even do this video, which makes sense. Okay, a little bit more in depth, the mistrust of others. All three of these cause mistrust of others. We'll divide these up and examine. Childhood abuse, it's pretty much guaranteed. If you had shitty parents, you're not going to trust very easily. If your caretakers were untrustworthy, then those out in the world when you get taller are going to be untrustworthy, or you're going to perceive them as such. Learned behavior can be unlearned. Look it up. Okay, drug addiction and mistrust. Do I need to go into that? It goes with the territory. You know, drug abuse breeds mistrust. You're not dealing with, President Lincoln when you're out there. On the run, post-narc abuse. What goes along with mistrust with post-narc abuse? Well, this goes along with cognitive dissonance, which I always hear people talking about that. I'm like, what the hell is cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance is you have inconsistent or out-of-character thoughts or beliefs. I experienced this in a weird way, in a bad way. I experienced weird beliefs like, this is still when you're in the cradle fog. I call it cradle fog. As the narc lulls you to sleep and you kind of get in a fog. And it takes you a while once you get away from them, hopefully if you get away from them, to get out of this fog. So while you're in this fog, you have, after the detox, which we'll talk about, you have cognitive dissonance, which is inconsistent thoughts or behavior about yourself because they've gaslighted you so much into... I doubted, did I have a career as a fine arts painter in Los Angeles? Did I really go to college and get a bachelor's degree? Or did I make that up? Shit like that, complete, like really a mind fuck. Like your brain's been taken out and put back in sideways. That's kind of what it feels like. Yeah, so anyway, post-narc abuse is not a pretty thing. I mistrusted everyone. Even people I'd never met yet, I mistrusted them. So mistrust hits all three categories. I also had another category is dissociative amnesia. I had that with drugs. Heroin. But anyway, yeah, I didn't remember shit from my childhood, which is, a term they use, dissociative amnesia. I had that with drug use, as we spoke of, and I had that with my narky, which I only recently kind of discovered thinking about him, unfortunately. I mean, thinking about the issue with him in my recovery, which I'm still in, even after only a 4-month relationship. Dissociative amnesia, I was like thinking the other day, I'm like, my God, you know what? I blacked out, I would say probably 47.8% of what actually happened with that dude. He was making me walk on eggshells, with his abuse. And his horrible behavior, his destructive behavior, his misuse of our time together, his abuse on me, his sharp words. I'd asked him, well, where do you think your keys are? I don't know where my keys are. That kind of shit. Where you're like, whoa, okay, all right. Little jumpy. Anyway, so, with my background as it is, I blacked that shit out, because it's not fun to remember that stuff, it's not a good thing. So it affected my short-term memory, all three. Obviously, that goes along with dissociative amnesia. During that fog part, I forgot where I parked my car. I mean, I know everybody does that, but I mean every time. Forgot where I parked my car. Forgot if I gave the cashier a $10 bill or a $5 bill. I mean, every time. I don't mean occasionally. Forgot where I put my keys. Forgot where my wallet was. Every single time. not an occasional thing. So yeah, the memory was definitely interrupted in all three of these categories. Post-Narc abuse, childhood abuse affects your memory. It's well known and documented. And also an addict, you know, affects your memory without question. My concentration was so bad, mainly in the narc abuse. We'll just talk about that one. But I had, you know, with that cradle effect, that cradle fog, I had, in order to think, I had to squint so hard. I squinted so hard to be able to think. My concentration levels were just at a bare minimum, which brings us to the three things or the two things that these two of these share in common that are the most fascinating, and that's withdrawal, and that's the withdrawal from drugs, and the withdrawal from the narky post-narc abuse. They share a lot of characteristics. They both share withdrawal issues that are, and I'm talking the glamorous part of withdrawal. You know, like if you do a Google review, a Google search on withdrawal and on weed and pills, stuff we can talk about online without getting check marks or taken off, and you'll get page after page after page of facilities that, you know, will hold your hand while you shudder your way through getting rid of a substance out of your body. Well, you know, I did it on my own, both categories, which was not fun. And the number one, kicking the trauma bond, that was the hardest thing, was kicking the trauma bond. And oddly enough, it was 4 days. It took 4 days, peaked at 4 days, just as the drugs did. They peaked at 4 days at their worst. It was every cell in my body craved this dude, craved the narc. I mean, craved the ding of a text from him, the ring of a phone call from him. I craved a touch from him. I mean, it was sick. Every cell in my body craving that, just as it craved drugs. The drugs I use. Crave. Jones. Kick. It even craved his voice. I mean, even if he said the word no, I craved it so badly. Yeah, the only difference between this craving thing, there were the other withdrawal symptoms were nasty but livable. No appetite, body aches, of course. Showering was out of the question. Eating was out of the question. Didn't want to drink for the 4 days. Of course, on the drug side, you go to the bathroom in the bed, but we'll stay away from those glamorous, nitty-gritty, glamorous parts of withdrawal from drugs. And the trauma bond, that was really also physical positions in the bed were different. The trauma bond, I was in an embryonic ball, which there may be a metaphor there somewhere. And the drug withdrawal, I was all over the map on the bed. Every continent edge I was on, twisted up in the sweaty sheets. Nonetheless, my favorite word, the withdrawal from trauma bond and post-narc abuse, and the withdrawal from drugs, peaked at 4 days and continued on in long-term fashion. It wasn't over overnight, Took a long time for the post-narc abuse. 2 months, I would say. I started coming out of the fog after about 3 weeks. The fog started lifting. I started coming out of the drug fog, oddly enough, about 3 weeks, 21 days. It was just, like a fog you see coming in on some body of water. Just imagine that coming in on your head and staying there, interrupting your ability to smell, your ability to see, your ability to think, your ability to hear, particularly your ability to think. But that out of all of them, I would say, actually they're all kind of tied for first place with how much trouble they were. And I'm so glad to be out of them, and I don't want anybody else to suffer this stuff. That's why I'm doing these videos. I really want to get the word out there. And be sure and please hit that like button and the subscribe button so I can get tiered up in this YouTube lineup so we can get other people to see it. Everybody be strong out there.